Welcome to Reading, a somewhat small town located in Fairfield County, Connecticut, with a little over 9,000 residents today. Over the last 250 years, Reading, Connecticut has experienced a wealth of historical events which have helped shape it into the wonderful community it is now. As you wander around town, you will find evidence from its early start as an Indian village to its role in the Revolutionary War. This rich history inspired the authors of the book My Brother Sam is Dead. Come join us on a tour.
Reading was originally part of the village of Fairfield. It went from the Cross Highway to Reading Ridge. The land was probably occupied by a Native American tribe that was led by Chickasaw or Sam Mohawk. The Native American tribe was made up of members that from a variety of other tribes. 1714 is one of the town's seal, which shows John Reed buying the land that became Reading from the Chicken Wars. During the American Revolutionary War, his great-grandson Tom Warrups is thought to have become a guide, scout, and messenger for the Continental Army forces under the command of Major General Israel Putnam. Authors James Lincoln Collier and Christopher Collier included Tom Warrups among the characters in the book My Brother Sam is Dead. Here you see the Lonetown Manor that was built on the land John Reed first purchased. Although it had been restored many times, it still stands today. John Reed was the first English settler in Reading in 1714. Reed's son and family formed a close alliance with Chicken's family. Although the elder John Reed moved to Boston in 1722, his son Cole John Reed took over administration of Lonetown Manor. In 1767, the Connecticut General Assembly incorporated the town as Reading, which has less than 1,000 inhabitants.
Education has always been important in Reading. Originally, there were several one-room schoolhouses during 1737. Reading had a schoolmaster that went from the Ridge to the west side in Lonetown. Later, in 1742, they decided to have three separate schools and masters. It wasn't until 1878 that the Hill Academy, which today is the current town hall, was built as a public high school. The town continued to have one-room schoolhouses for younger students. You may have seen the one still standing on Umbwater Road near Route 53. One of the teachers still lived up the road until recently.
When the Revolutionary War started, the citizens of Reading were conflicted. Some were loyalists and some were patriots. In My Brother Sam is Dead, a reader might conclude that Reading was a Tory town, but Reading town records contain very few references to the Loyalists. Like other towns, there was a mix of supporters. It was not just the conflict in the book that had similarities with the town it was set in. The characters in the book were fictional, but hold a strong resemblance to Reading colonists. Some of the main characters had the last name Meeker. Although these characters were fictional, the name was based on a Reading family. Some of the real Meekers were members of the First Church of Christ Congregational, which still stands in Reading today on Cross Highway. This church was built in 1836 and was originally a Methodist church. Among the Meeker members were several soldiers in the Revolutionary War.
When we look on the gravestones in the church graveyard, find other citizens and inspired characters in this book. One was John Meeker's son-in-law, Jacob Patchen. Jacob was only 13 years old when he was captured by the British Army as they marched to Danbury, hoping to burn it and weapons supply down. Jacob escaped and joined the Continental Army in 1781, serving until the end of war. Despite his experiences, Jacob's family were loyalists/Tories. Another real-life similarity to Sam Meeker and My Brother Sam is Dead was James Stanford, who was part of the New Hampshire Brigade when they encamped in Reading. James enlisted despite the fact that his family didn't share his views. His younger brother John, who was said to have visited him at camp every day, could have been the inspiration for Tim Meeker in the book. Many of these real-life residents were buried in the church graveyard. This graveyard has a memorial honoring those who fought and lost their lives in the Revolutionary War.
There were numerous residents that participated in the war. We still have residents with the same surnames.
Lazarus Beach Sr. was the leader of Reading's Loyalists during the Revolution. He lived on what is known as Poverty Hollow Road in the present day. Another notable Reading resident connected with the war was Squire William Heron, who lived just south of the Anglican/Episcopal Church on Reading Ridge. Although it is not proven to be true, some historians wondered if he was a spy. During the time, he was seen as a patriot. He held office during the war, so he had access to important information. Others outside of Reading viewed him as a patriot too. Connecticut's government Trumbull provided passes to Squire Heron that allowed him to freely travel to and from New York for business. George gave him approval too. It was documented in 1882 stated that William Heron's role in the Revolutionary War was as a double agent. Heron provided information to both American and British commanders during the war. The British received information of little importance, while the Americans received reports that were far more significant and useful. Heron died on Reading Ridge, January 8, 1819, at the ripe old age of 77 years, and was buried in Christ Churchyard. The truth about him remains a mystery.
If you were to cross the street from the graveyard, you would find part of the Reading Ridge setting from My Brother Sam is Dead. This house is where Lieutenant Betts was located. To the right would be Meeker's Tavern.
At times, the roads would be filled with troops marching. A plaque can be found in Reading Ridge that demonstrates some were British and some were from the Continental Army. At times, soldiers in the Continental Army did things that their commanding officers found disloyal. They could face death as a punishment. Gallows Hill Road earned its name because the hanging of the deserters from Putnam's troops were believed to have taken place up on the hill.
Putnam Memorial State Park is probably the spot in Reading with the most obvious connection to the Revolutionary War. This is a memorial to one of the 3 Revolutionary War encampments in Reading during the winter of 1778 to 1779. The park includes a statue at the entrance of the park of General Putnam and is a small building thought to resemble cabins built by the soldiers. The winter the soldiers stayed here was frigid, and there were very low in provisions. It was often referred to as Little Valley Forge. There is a smaller encampment in Gallows Hill Road area and Limekiln Road.
General Putnam was housed on Umpqua Hill. Today and any day in Reading, you can learn about the rich history of your town. Reading, Connecticut. Your town is rich in history. Today we'll imagine what it was like to live in Reading during the Revolutionary War. Let us begin our journey.